All right, I'm putting my headphones on. This is my fourth or fifth time trying to record this video. I got all the way through it once and I hated it. But I'm going to try and put my own productive, positive spin on this entire situation. Johnny Raekes leaving Fiend, and I was going to wait to talk about it until the news on Friday, but I had enough people messaging me about it, and I've read through these comments. I feel like there is a way to look at this that could solve this situation specifically and many others like it from having to happen more in the future. And so I'm going to read through Johnny's caption here just so you have an idea of what's going on. I'm not going to read through all the comments, just a couple specific ones. After nearly a decade of working together, I've decided to step away from Fiend. Representing this brand was my life's dream since I was a kid. They gave 17-year-old me a shot to be on the team, and I made it my life's mission to make them proud. I hope I did just that. My no love section still isn't on YouTube. My life's work is put behind a paywall for others to profit off of while I watch the team travel and live my dreams without me. I love BMX more than anything, and I'll never let anything get in the way of me being in love with BMX for the rest of my life. Fiend taught me to never settle for less than what I know I am capable of achieving, and unfortunately, I have to leave to reach my fullest potential. Thank you for giving me the chance to live out my childhood dream. For that, I will always be grateful. With that being said, this is only the beginning. Garrett Reynolds, class act in the comments. Thanks for everything, bro. Now, this boils down to one thing for me and a few people in the comments. Grant C left a really good comment. Colin Varignac, great comment too. And there's conversation down there that I think is worth reading if you want to. But my part and where I want to come into this, because I guess I have some sort of a voice at this point, and being the BMX media pundit right now that I'm being, I want to try and make it a productive, positive one. So he's talking about his life's work being behind a paywall for others to profit off of. And when you go into the comments, into the Grant C thread, you can see Fiend left a comment here saying the download sales haven't even come close to paying back what it cost to produce over the last 3 years, which means that no one is profiting yet off of this video. The video itself came out 3 months ago, not even yet. August 15th, 2025, it became available for download. You go to Fiend's YouTube channel and no one else's sections are online yet. So they're not profiting. No one else's sections are online, and the video's only been out for 3 months. While I could understand wanting this to be online yet, no one is profiting and no one else's videos, sections from it are online. And so this is where I'm going to introduce the idea of contracts and how important they are. And while I wouldn't have ever expected or thought that anyone at a core BMX company making a contract would think that they needed to have video release as part of this contract, this example right here is a perfect one for, and a perfect makes this a candidate for something that should be in a contract. And all of these little details that anyone has ever been upset about that have to do with something that could be in a contract like this should be at this point. And if there was some sort of clause in this contract that says when you film a video for the brand, one, we own the video, so we dictate what happens with it. But two, this is your contract, so you can negotiate where we take it once it's out for the public to buy and it's available. Then you can go in there and you can say, okay, reasonable expectation is that video should be paid off before, and like make a certain threshold of money before it gets released publicly, or a certain amount of time has gone by. And if this exists, well, then that means that, like, yes, he's allowed to be upset about it, but also it's in your contract and it's something you signed and agreed to from the beginning. And leaving is your right to, and you have every right to do that. But at the same time, you sign this thing, and I'm not saying that that exists, but if it did exist, then it just gives this framework to go off of that people can't really, like, they can be mad about it and they can be upset at the situation, but they have to understand they signed this in the beginning and they agreed to all of these terms from the beginning. And there's so many different things like this. I mean, we've heard all of the stories of like concepts and products, signature stuff that's being worked on for a company. Then that thing comes out later and the writer feels like they've been wronged in the situation. Well, if this is part of a contract where the contract very explicitly says any product worked on in conjunction with company by said writer, this is our responsibility to this writer if the product comes out later or the project continues with them not being involved, whether it's we have no responsibility to the writer or writer gets blank royalties or writer gets blank for it. If it were in the contract, then any type of thing like this is essentially just something that the writer does knowing that they signed this thing and they agreed to the terms and it's in the contract and there's really no legal grounds or anything like that to stand on. And so without trying to make this too long-winded, this is why contracts are important. And if I were a team manager in BMX, as much as it sucks to be like, hey, we have to have you sign this contract and we have to go over this together, as much as I can feel like it sucks because of the purity of BMX and like, I don't know, the sanctity of being a professional rider feels like, oh, I have to go through all this like legal stuff and sign papers and whatever. This feels weird. As much as that can be, it also protects everyone in the situation because all expectations are put out from the start. And if anything else comes, or if anything comes up that's within there, it's like, hey, this is in the contract. This is what we all agreed to. And this is what's going to happen because we laid it out ahead of time. And so if I was a team manager, my approach would be, all right, this is every single situation that we can remember coming up where a rider feels wronged by something we did or didn't fulfill or that they feel like didn't happen that they wanted to. We're going to enter different sections of the contract that are around every single possible thing that we can think of. And then before this rider is signed and we assign on the dotted line and everything is set in stone, I'm going to go over it with this rider and we're going to talk about every single thing and we're going to negotiate and we're going to figure this out from the start like professionals so that nothing like this has to happen and everyone has an understanding from the start. And if something like this does happen, it's just out of being upset and it's understandable to be upset. But it's like, well, you signed the dotted line and we all were on the same page from the start to try and prevent this kind of thing from happening. But in BMX, there's so many bro deals and handshake deals with no real legal grounds or obligations that mean that, you know, miscommunications, misunderstandings, things that weren't thought of from the start happen, and it sucks when they do. And so without getting too far into the weeds on this situation specifically and like what I think about it, my final thoughts in general are this sucks. It sucks for Johnny, and I'm sure it really does suck to be in his shoes. It sucks for Fiend because anybody who reads this and thinks negatively about Fiend because of it, that's a bummer. But a very detailed contract moving forward can prevent this from having to be a thing. And if somebody like Fiend, Garrett, whatever, felt like they had to make some sort of statement, it could just be as simple as, we signed a contract, this was addressed in it, and this isn't what we agreed to. So we're sorry that he's upset, but he is. But it's not what we agreed to in the beginning. So it is what it is, basically. So with that being said, I hope this adds some sort of like productive, positive spin on it because these situations always suck. But Johnny Raekes is an incredible BMX rider. He can do things that legitimately no one else in the world can do. And I swear to God, time moves slower for him where he is able to bend time like his like Avatar, I think it was themed, like elements themed things. I swear he can like bend time to be able to do tricks that nobody else could fit into different things that he does. So I'm really excited to see like what happens, where he ends up, because he will definitely land somewhere, and I hope for the best for him. And yeah, man, contracts are important. They clear up any ambiguity, any type of confusion if you are very thorough with it. And I hope that, as fucking weird as it might feel for team managers and pros in BMX to have to go through that stuff, that they could realize that it's protecting everyone in the situation. It just means that everyone's taken care of in a way that they all agree that they're happy to when they sign that dotted line. That's it. Contracts are important.